Hey, it's Tom from latestdeals.co.uk and welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about airline credit cards. Airline credit cards are for people who love to fly. It's a type of rewards credit card where you get points that gather for air miles. The points can also be used for car hire, hotels and other travel related expenses. So how do they work? Airline credit cards are designed to be used on everyday spending, things like your food shopping or your petrol. Also, airline credit cards are usually tied to a particular airline, so you get more bang for your buck when you fly with that particular airline. The number of miles you earn for every £1 that you spend is different for every travel airline credit card. The more you spend, the more miles you earn, but you've got to be careful. And bear in mind, airline credit cards tend to have high interest rates. This is because the credit cards are giving away these expenses or these rewards, so they need to charge more and able to afford them. You might also find that your airline credit card comes with an annual fee, so watch out for that when you're doing your comparisons. So who are airline credit cards best suited for? Well, quite simply, people who like to fly a lot. You'll need to use your credit card quite a bit on purchases, but you should always try to make sure it's everyday purchases, not extra spending, to build up sufficient points in order to get the air miles. And you'll probably need to be a frequent flyer to take advantage of the best travel offers and flight deals. So the most important thing before you apply for an airline credit card is that you can afford to pay back what you borrow every month in full. You'll only get charged interest if you miss these monthly payments. So before you get the credit card, think about what you're going to spend it on, how much you're going to borrow, because this is debt, and that you can afford to pay it back at the end of every month. If you don't manage to pay back your debt, then unfortunately you'll be charged interest, and that interest will wipe out any rewards or gains you've got from the air miles. It will make it completely pointless. Something I get asked a lot is whether airline credit cards are the same as travel credit cards. No, they're not. Travel credit cards save you money when you're abroad, spending in a foreign currency. Airline credit cards give you points for travel rewards as you spend at home. Now, before you rush off with your new shiny airline credit card and spend on lots of things to get your reward points, make sure you listen to these rules before applying. The most important rule with all credit cards, and if you've watched some of my other videos, this will sound very repetitive. The most important rule is to pay back the bill on time every month. Yes. If you don't pay back your bill, you'll be charged interest, and that interest wipes out any gains you get from the airline credit card. The best way to do that is to set up a direct debit. When your credit card arrives, connect it to your bank account, just like you would with Netflix or your rent perhaps. It's all quite simple, but if you've got enough money in your bank with a direct debit, the credit card can then charge it automatically and you never go into debt. That way you can accrue your reward points and go flying on those free air miles. Number 2, generally speaking, airline credit cards tend only to be worth it for big spenders. You still may be better off just looking for cheaper flights rather than spending money to accrue points. For example, let's say that there is an airline and you gather some points which makes it cheaper. It still may be worth looking at flight comparisons to see, oh, actually this airline still works out cheaper, or having an indirect flight or a slightly odd hour. So just because you're getting air miles doesn't mean it's the cheapest option. Always check for the best deal. If you want to borrow money, don't use an airline credit card. Airline credit cards aren't designed for borrowing because they have such high interest rates. Instead, airline credit cards are designed for your everyday spending. So instead of using your debit card in the supermarket or when you're buying petrol, you use your airline credit card instead, and you get some points for every £1 you spend. But you don't want to be spending more just to accrue the points. The next rule is more of a myth buster. There's no such thing as a free flight. You may have heard people or friends say, oh, I used my air miles and the flight was almost free. It's never free, because whilst it can reduce the price, there will always be taxes and charges on top. So no matter what, you'll always pay some money for a flight. Another myth buster is that you can use your air miles on any flight. Sometimes this isn't true. In fact, you may be restricted in what flights you can apply your air miles to, and that can mean that you're still spending more money than if you looked for cheaper, more indirect flights with other airlines. So are they worth it? Well, if you're spending quite a bit of money on your debit card, on everyday things like your shopping or your petrol, and you've got enough money to pay it off, then it's better than nothing, right? Because you're going to get points for every pound that you spend. However, you've got to make sure that the airline with which the card is partnered is an airline that you can fly from regularly, that it's nearby, and that the flights that you want are applicable. And it may always still be cheaper to go with a different airline. So have a good look at comparison tables, which we have on latestdeals.co.uk. Read through the FAQs because there's so much more information than I can share in this video. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been helpful. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. If you're interested in other credit cards, for example, you might be better off with a cashback credit card, a rewards credit card, or even the travel credit card I mentioned earlier. Have a look on our YouTube channel at Latest Deals where we have a playlist called Credit Cards and it goes through all the different types. Thanks for watching.